Hey, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and the first game I ever owned was Donkey Kong Country. My brother and I continued getting the other DKC games, him receiving 2 for his birthday, and me getting 3 when that came out, the two of us playing through them together, and it being a pretty formative series for my childhood. Then Rareware went 3D with 64, which I didn't play until recently, and then Nintendo dropped the ball and didn't buy the smaller company, Xbox picking them up instead, and Rareware titles kinda dried up, at least as far as I was concerned. Nintendo household. As such, Donkey Kong Country was pretty much dead, which was very disappointing. Then one fine day during the Wii era, Donkey Kong Country Returns was announced and I was ecstatic. By that point, I had my first job, so I was able to pre-order and pick it up day one, though when I played it, it didn't feel quite right. I have another younger sibling who has played through the games with my first brother, and the two of us have gone back and forth on whether Donkey Kong Country Returns is just a natural progression of the series, or if it's just another platformer using the name. Having recently replayed it, it's fresh in my mind, so I'd like to go through some of the similarities and differences to try and determine whether the returns in the title is a bit misleading. The basics are at least the same. It's a platformer, you play as a pair of Kongs, Donkey and Diddy, like the original. Your bananas have been stolen, you need to reclaim them, and every 100 you pick up is an extra life. You're also going around Donkey Kong Island. They even reuse a lot of the same locales, like the jungle and factory, though a few get swapped. For instance, rather than a frozen peak, the island summit is now covered in lava. Global warming, I guess. You also get some minecart madness as well as barrel blasts for gameplay staples, and a good bit of the soundtrack is also reused, the bulk of the OST just being Country 1's, but remixed. In fact, you could say it's not so much a return to Donkey Kong Country the series, but Donkey Kong Country the game, given the Kong's location and music used. Still though, there's several things that aren't quite the same. The game's got a weird momentum to it. Rather than a run button, you have to build up to running speed. You can do this quick by performing a roll, and given that the run and roll button were the same on the SNES, that's not too far off, but it also was a button back on that console. On the Wii, it's motion controls, you needing to shake your Wiimote or swing Wiimote and nunchuck. Replaying it this way was awkward, though admittedly, my equipment is getting old and could sometimes be unresponsive. Still, while I like motion controls in a few cases, it's how I play ARMS, ham-fisting it in there when just a frickin' button would've worked fine is a pet peeve of mine. At least make it an option. Though back to the roll, you can still do the roll off a ledge, jump in the air trick that's such an interesting mechanic, though you can't just roll through an entire line of enemies building up speed with each one, it will peter out. And while they play a bigger part here, you can also get the ground slaps with Donkey again, which can also turn into a blow instead if you crouch beforehand, so both moves are slightly tweaked. The cast in this one, though, is greatly reduced. Only Donkey, Diddy, and Cranky for support, and when it comes to animal buddies, which were such a big part of the original trilogy, you get Romby, and Squawks, though he only shows up to help you find collectibles. No Espresso, no Skitters, no Ellie, and Romby only shows up for 4 levels, only one of which is his location impossible to miss, so you don't really see him much. Don't worry though, there's plenty of stages that use this damn rocket barrel to make up for it. The Kong letters are back, though rather than an extra life, they're just a collectible to unlock some extra stages, and there's plenty of bonus rooms, though they're all a timed collect everything platforming or barrel blast challenge. Unless I missed all the interesting ones, there isn't much variety in these, and the platform ones all look like the sort of thing a novice with a level editor would throw together quick. While the bonus rooms in the original game were simple, and the ones with the blast barrels do seem pulled from there, I'd still say that they managed to be more interesting than this. Extra light balloons also used to be shaped like the primary Kong's head, but they're just standard balloons here. Some of these tweaks are minor gripes. The Kong letter thing isn't that big of a deal, and as much as I hate the motion controls, they were pretty much a requirement back in the day, so I can't hold that against Retro Studios. Some of the other stuff, though, is disappointing. The differences, though, are what really get me. For the trilogy, you got 2 Kongs, and they take turns. 1 player, you have both. 2 player, you each get a monkey, and when they switch, you switch. Here though, Diddy Kong is either an accessory or a separate character. In the past, you die in a single hit, letting the other player take over. Here, each has 2 hearts or 2 hits that they can take. In single player, Diddy Kong rides on your back, doubling your health, and he also has his jetpack, so you can use him to hover. In 2-player, which I haven't played, my understanding is that you can still use him that way, but you can also hop off Donkey's back to act independently, run around, hover, and fire off his peanut pop guns. Think you can do that mounted too. I prefer the original, but regardless, you have to admit, taking turns and either wearing or playing simultaneously is a pretty big difference. The other weird thing about having 2 hearts is that the game also seems a lot stingier with DK barrels and relies a lot on insta-kills, almost like they thought that the extra hits were too generous and that they needed to balance things by being cruel and unusual. They also throw in a new denomination of bananas, a crown of them, which are worth 20, and each stage has puzzle pieces, which you can collect to unlock gallery items. There's also an auto mission of level type. Donkey Kong now dies if he falls in the water, which is weird because he used to be able to stay under there indefinitely. Now, maybe they didn't want to program in the physics, or maybe they didn't include it because while a lot of platformers and adventure titles have water levels, they tend to be the most reviled parts of the game. I actually kinda like the ones in Country, but either way, you can also put Unguard on the MIA list. On that note, one difference that probably most players will agree is a downgrade is the lack of Kremlings. I was baffled by this when Returns first came out. I mean, Nintendo owned Donkey Kong obviously, but was it possible that Rareware retained the rights to the Kremlings since they were their original baddies for this adaptation? Well, given K. Rool's return since, I'd say not, making this even weirder. And while there's a whole discussion to be had about recycling villains, the Kremlings are iconic, whereas this cast is forgettable. Seriously, I kinda remember some of the tikis and the first set of bird enemies that pop up, but the rest I literally forgot about, though I did unconsciously flinch when I saw the names of some of the boss stages. The enemy roster also felt smaller, which might be because it was, or I might have also immediately forgotten some of them as soon as I hit credits. If you're gonna replace something, don't do it with inferior goods. So, is the name Donkey Kong Country Returns a misnomer? I had a pretty definitive answer for this, but really thinking about it, I guess we can go about it 2 ways. What does Donkey Kong Country mean to you? Is it the sights and sounds of Donkey Kong Island? The second title takes you more into Kremling country, and after the first game, you don't even play as the titular character. What kind of game does that? It's certainly a return to the star and lands of the first game. If you hear Donkey Kong Country and think 2 Kongs swapping off Kremlings, animal buddies, and more consistent controls on a consistent controller, this really isn't what this game is. To put it another way, is Donkey Kong Country a place or a set of gameplay mechanics? For me, it's the latter, and the name Returns felt like a total betrayal. Had they called it literally anything else, I might not have been so disappointed, even if they had just named it Donkey Kong Country 4. Had they gone with that, I would have seen it as a continuation of the series, just in a different direction, which is fine and even to be expected. Returns, to me, implied a return to the formula, especially after such a long hiatus. Finally, that thing you liked is coming back, and we're appealing directly to your nostalgia. But the way this one played felt like a major departure. Am I just arguing semantics here? Yeah, probably, but words do mean things, and I think it's important to acknowledge that, especially when it comes to branding that's riding the coattails of a previous success. Interestingly, the Japanese name for Donkey Kong Country is Super Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Country Returns was simply called Donkey Kong Returns. I also probably would have been fine with that since Donkey Kong is a character, Donkey Kong Country is a series, and you can't deny DK is back, just look at that cover. Though at this point, I might just be splitting hairs. After all, this is a whole video with me arguing over the use of a single word. As far as I know, no one else has really had a problem with this, though admittedly, I'm not exactly deep into the DK fanbase. As for my feelings on the game, after replaying it through the lens of just another platformer that happens to star Donkey Kong, well, you'll never know because I've given up on trying to review those games after my first one got no views. It even had Bonanza hype going for it. So instead, let me ask you, do you think the name Donkey Kong Country Returns is appropriate? Do you think I'm a big idiot for making such a big deal out of it? And if so, why are you still here? Just enjoying my descent into madness? With that, thanks as always for watching, and maybe consider subscribing if you're into retro games. I typically focus on Mega Man. Oh, banana.